them today.
Who are the fools who would dare threaten me?
Dragon can fall, we'll slay you with our mighty sword. Dragon can fall, your heart will soon be ours. Dragon can fall, you are the beast we're training for.
We are the party who dare threaten you.
We have no fear of your ancient power. Your rapid fire will not make us cower. We're here to tell you that the spells are cast. You will not last the night.
You are the fools who will now feel my wrath.
Dragon can fall, we'll slay you with our mighty sword. Dragon can fall, your heart will soon be ours. Dragon can fall, you are the beast we're training for.
We are the party who now will fight back.
Quick, grab the magic bow, all distracted. You'll never defeat me, dragon.
Prepare to meet your doom.
Dragon can fall, we slayed him with our mighty swords. Dragon can fall, his heart will now be ours. Dragon can fall, he was the beast we're training for.
We are the party who claim victory.
From the depths of the dungeons to the tavern brawls, save the king, kill the giant. We've been through it all, I could fill up a tome. But you're not coming home. Well, we all saw it happen. We're the ones you saved. We're gonna light you a candle, gonna tell your tale by the light of the moon. We'll remember you, dying to heal. We tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, evil wizard came. Now everybody in this realm is singing out your name. Well, can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? Our adventures together went to hell and back. Spent the day slaying dragons and escaping traps, but massive damage is done. And now you're really gone. But we'll remember you, dying to hear. We tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, the evil wizard came. And now everybody in this realm is saying out your name. Can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? remember you, Diana here. We tried to help you with that diamond, but it wouldn't save your soul. And on that fateful day, the evil wither came. Now everybody in this realm is singing out your name. But can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane? Can you hear us sitting out there in the astral plane?
Hello and welcome to Office Hours. How are you all doing? It's Tuesday, July 23rd. Excited to see all of you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Chris Webb says, so just browsing games and I come across a GM who's been on Start Playing for a year, could be almost 2, but just about at 900 games. Are GMs who've around over 1,000, I think they've been on for about 2 to 3 years. I think that's kind of the average. Thank you so much, Jinxed. I hope you are all having a fantastic Tuesday. Let's dive into Office Hours, and then you can get those hot questions ready to go. Let's see. Okay, so we did some research this past week, and we're kind of cutting a project. So there was a project that we were looking at doing, but we decided we're not going to put any time towards it. And this came out of, we did a bunch of research on how people find out about Start Playing. And we found, one of the, there's about 16 ways. We're moving through that entire list. I remember I was telling you all about our Traction channel. Oh, bring out the doggo? Okay. Wow. Sorry, I know you were asleep, but now you have to say hi to everyone. Okay, they want to see you. Okay, you can go back to sleep now. Okay. So we were doing our Traction channels. We're looking at a bunch of them, seeing what was going really well. And we did this huge one on referrals. And player-to-player referrals was huge. We also noticed there was a decent amount of GM referrals. When we talked to GMs, they're like, I can't use this credit. This credit isn't good for me. It's not valuable. I don't have time to use it. And then it also shows up as a liability on our P&L statement because credit is essentially future revenue that we're going to have to pay for. So we were like, hey, what can we do? We had 3 different ideas of what we can do that would be different from just giving GMs credit. But after we did a survey, most GMs were like, I don't really care. And so we'll probably revisit it in the future when it becomes more of a liability on our P&L. But right now, our EBITDA doesn't have to worry about it. So we're going to move on to some other projects instead. But I just want you to all know, that's where that project went. For the most part, GMs weren't too excited about any of the options. It's cool. It's more of a nice to have. But we can do that when, after we focus on some other bigger projects. Okay. DM Bob Yo, oh my god, I love him. It's actually her. Her name is Valentine, and she's a fantastic dog. Okay. If you ordered merch, it's been shipped. Raise your hand in chat if you've already gotten your merch. I haven't gotten my merch. Gregan, question, why not a coupon? I don't know what that means. Why not give GMs a coupon? Gregan, go ahead and put that in again. Merch received, yes, I love it. I think the next time we do merch, though, we're not going to do a pre-order. It's just going to be a limited run, so we're only going to order a certain amount because when you do the pre-orders, it just, you never know what's going to happen, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So I think we might no longer do pre-orders, which means that, not everyone will be able to get everything. It really will be this is a limited stock, but I'm going to think about it. A lot of people message in hey, I ordered this a month ago. I still haven't gotten it. I'm like, it's a pre-order. It's still in production. So I'm debating what we're going to do there. We just rolled out some more features on the fraud side. So we can, we noticed a few people who were taking advantage of the Start Playing system and they created multiple accounts. That's very easy for us to see now. I think I talked about this last week, where it was easy for us to see in hindsight, but now we have kind of an active view where we can see it happening live. So that just rolled out. And that's also with identity matching. Let's see what else. Oh, the team is looking into partial skipping. I talked about this last week too, because the engineering team is working on figuring out the best way for GMs to be able to skip games for their players. We're pairing that also with partial skipping. So if one person books for 2 people, you can skip just one person, or the GM can skip just one person. Let's see. Pending calendar visibility. That's also in like an engineering research stage. Pending calendar visibility means that if you have a pending game scheduled, that'll show up in your calendar. The problem with it right now is there are no dates attached to pending games for the most part. There are with one-shots, but not with campaigns. So if we want to have them show up on a calendar, we have to write something that just essentially assumes certain dates so that they show up appropriately on the calendar. Because calendars can also be subscribed to, which means then we have to figure out how that communicates to Google, Google Cal or Microsoft Calendar or iCal. It's not an easy thing, but we know it's important. So the team is looking into like how to make this happen. There's some minor tweaks coming to the PDP. The PDP is the product description page. That's essentially your game listing page as the player sees it. I will refer to it as the PDP, often in technical notes in our product reference documents. That's what we call the product page, the PDP. There's going to be a big overhaul of it in the future, but right now we're going to be moving up the tags of the different systems and how the game is played, some things like that, above the fold. Let's see. With the new search, the Eng team has been able to do some really advanced stuff, and in the works, probably in the next 2 weeks, will be multi-game select. Excuse me, multi-game select. Multi-game select means you can select Pathfinder, Monster of the Week, and maybe Cursed Born, and Lasers and Feelings. Laser Feelings? I forget what it is. But you'll be able to select multiple games in a single search result. That's going to be really, really cool. Also, we're changing the filter to not say game system anymore. It'll just say game. A lot of the user interviews we've done, people are confused by game system that are brand new. People who are not brand new, people like most of yourselves, understand what game means. It means game system. But a lot of people who don't know what game system means sees game system and they're immediately thrown off. So that's why we're going to change game system to just game. Shitness, are you just making up games, Devin? I was for a little bit. Actually, it was. You'll see soon. You'll see later. Okay, so that's the update on this goodness. Any questions on those before I start talking about starter set stuff? Oh, here we go. Question. With the ability to set up adventures back to pending, could a GM set a game to active, then pending again to run one-shots while recruiting? Wait, let me think through that. Okay. With the ability to set adventures back to pending, could a GM set a game to active, then to pending, to run one-shots while recruiting? Tizzy, you could, but setting a game to pending when it was active does not remove players from the game. So people would still be in that, they'd still be in the game. You'd have to remove them each time. Gregan, instead of credit, activate a coupon that players or GMs can give out based on earning structure that they would need to figure out. I'm still new, so I'm not sure how that works. Gregan, that was actually one of the things where it wasn't, the thing is, everyone who has a referral code, anyone who has an account, can refer someone and get $10 in credit and can give that person $10. When we created the referral system, we weren't expecting GMs to be big users of it. We were really thinking players, because we know players have a high stickiness. But GMs also, like some, I would say there's probably say 50-50. Some GMs, they love to advertise themselves sometimes. And so being able to tell someone, hey, here's $10 off my game with me if you're brand new to start playing, was a really nice advantage. we had thought about maybe doing something that's more like an affiliate program, and we still might do that. It just might not be aimed towards GMs. GMs probably could apply for it, but I don't know if it's going to be the sole direction of it. But there are some affiliate plans that we are looking at because we do think there's some really easy success with it. Question: search to exclude games types, all games except Pathfinder. Eric, we don't have an exclude yet. That's still very difficult. We're probably going to create, and I talked about this before, the idea of collection buttons. And so you'd be on search and you'd see like 6 special collection buttons. And those collection buttons would be like what's hot right now, or indie games or things like that. And we would write a special query just for that. That would be like everything but D&D. Because the thing is, exclude doesn't make sense for anything other than D&D, and maybe Pathfinder. But I don't think anyone's like, you know what, I want to look at every game except Monster of the Week. And so that's why we don't want to make an exclude feature that's just for one system. Rather, we'll make a collection button that will probably, and I wish I had the mock-ups for it. I need to bother Nick for them. But the idea is you would hit this button and it would essentially be everything but D&D and probably everything but excluding Pathfinder too. Okay. A pending preface to the listing, pending Vecna Eve of Ruin. Bellion, I don't know what that means. Can you ask that again? Question: with the ability to set... Oh, I already answered that. Ajax, question: do people multi-select D&D for all versions or no? Ajax, people do not multi-select at all. We don't have multi-select on game listings. So we'll see. But what we realized is we have this thing called... Gosh, what is it called? Valentine, what is that called? Essentially, it nominizes screen recordings of people using the site. So I can watch or look at data on 1,000 users, how they interacted with the site. And many sessions I was going through had people doing a bunch of searches, but they kept changing the game system over and over again. So they're like, I really want to find, like, they're looking for essentially 6 different games, but they did 6 searches for that game. So every time they searched, they went through all of them. They take rid of the game, they put in a new game. That seemed like a small piece of friction that could be removed, but it was really hard to do so. But we realized that more people were doing that, where they're entering in like 6 different systems that they absolutely wanted to play. So we want to make that easier. Tizzy, follow up on the question. It means that we can have run games with whoever we have joined before starting a campaign, as it's usually recommended. Just want to know if that'd be allowed abuse. I don't think it would be abuse. So right now, from how I understand your question, I don't see that as abuse. Yeah, and exclude would block up some excellent GMs just getting their games rolling by searchable tags would be answer so many of these questions. Question: I have a post my games on Twitch. Would that help from my business? Chris Redmond. Well, that depends. What's the best way to frame this? How large is your Twitch? How many new users come to your Twitch? How many followers? Are some things that I would consider in thinking if Twitch would be a viable growth channel. Now, many of you probably know that I used to have a pretty big Twitch, and I kind of stopped using Twitch. I had, at the height, like 11, 12,000 followers, and I was like, this isn't valuable anymore because Twitch is a pretty bad discovery platform. So you only have access to the people you're working with. If you are getting, 5 to 10 views per stream, I think that's great. And that might be wonderful for you to kind of highlight your games. But remember, some players might not be big fans of being streamed. Now, if you're streaming your prep, I think that's a great way to potentially get interested players because they're seeing how you prep your games. They're seeing kind of behind the curtain, and that could be a big draw. Having that just in general means you can put that out onto TikTok, you can put that on social, and you can reuse that to also advertise yourself. So I would focus on it, and I would see if it helps you. If it does, lean into it. If it doesn't, reprioritize where you want to put that energy. Gregan So you would have maybe a list of systems with checkboxes next to them, and we would have a grouping option to collectively check. No, that's not. I don't know what that question is, Gregan. That's not game systems. Belly and follow-up. With the calendar current not showing pending games, could they show those games with a pending tag? So Belly, it's actually not like having to show with a pending tag. It's the fact that many of those games don't have a date associated with them. So there's a lot of technical side where you have to essentially predict a potential date for them to then push to a calendar. That's the problem. It's not the fact that like we have to separate the two. That's very easy. We can just say this is pending, show here's pending. The problem is when there's no date available, trying to display that in a calendar and essentially predict when it should be showing. Let's see. Question, Michael Gray. Wanted to double check that using my Discord to sell, for example, stickers and books and such would not violate terms of service. It does not. Not with me. I don't think with Discord either. Agree with Keith. Yeah, I also think tags are great. I mean, I build in tags from day one because I think that they're essential to the future of SPG search. VJ, Discord link integration. Like the link in the GM's Discord ID on their profile or display their guild server invite on their profile. I think we'll probably be exploring some cool Discord integration probably near the end of the year. Whether it be like signing with Discord or auto roll generation would be something that's kind of cool. There is a tech spike down the road for the engineering team to kind of like dig into that. Gregan, I'm really sorry. Are you referencing themes or are you referencing game systems? Because it won't have a checkbox. It'll essentially, you just pick all the games you want, similar to when you actually fill out the game systems when you create a template. What kind of traffic does someone need to have to do a paid promo spot for SPG? Bildo, not really as much traffic, but kind of like viewers and engagement. We usually look for at least 10 to 12% engagement on sponsored posts. That's ideal. Low end is maybe 8%, but usually 8 to 12. We're usually looking for someone who has at least between 5 to 10,000 followers on short form. And around 10 to 20 on long form. That's kind of how we gauge it out. Okay, should we talk about starter set? Or do you guys have some other questions you want to go over first? You guys made me real self-conscious about my ums last week, so I'm like doing everything in my power not to say today. Starter set, yes. Okay. We talked to a bunch of people about starter set the past 2 weeks. And one of the big things is then when after I take people through the process of starter set, I then go take them to the website to ask them to find a game. And I was seeing people filter by, day of the week, or not day of the week, by date and time, one shot, looking for games. There is a lack of games that are very clearly learn to play D&D. There's a lot of games that say, hey, this is beginner friendly, but beginner friendly and learn to play are different. Beginner friendly is like, I've just started playing this game and I kind of want to play with some other people that are also kicking off, and beginner is the expectation. But a one shot that is learn to play is hitting on those people that like, I don't know where to start. And when they read these titles, sometimes like it's the Shadow of the Cursed Raven. They're like, I don't know what that is. That doesn't scream to them learn to play game. It also, if it was there, it doesn't help push them in the idea of learning to play D&D. Just the terms learn to play Dungeons & Dragons is a fantastic title if you are trying to get people who have never played Dungeons & Dragons. That is fantastic. When you add in proper nouns or things that maybe people aren't incredibly familiar with, it kind of hurts a little bit because I've said this a lot of times in a lot of the onboardings. I had someone who had never played before, and they were looking at a game that was for beginners. They were really hesitant about joining it. They said, I think I need to find something that's actually more for beginners. I'm like, well, this is a game for beginners. Why not this game? They're like, well, I was reading it, and it's not for beginners. I don't know who these people are. It's like, what do you mean? And I read through it, and it said, team up with the Emerald Enclave and stop the evil Zhentarim and the Red Wizards of Thay before they destroy Neverwinter. Something to that effect. And they were confused because of all the proper nouns, all the lore that they weren't familiar with. And so they turned away from that game. You could have said the exact same thing on that game, saying, like, let's stop an evil mercenary company and the vile wizards they've partnered with the help of the druids, and save the city. You can say the same thing. But when it relied so much on that lore and that terminology that the player wasn't familiar with, they were intimidated. So there's two types of games for beginners. There's learn to play, which should be really, really clear and not overly burdened with proper nouns, and then beginner games. Because what we realize is people who play a learn to play game immediately then go and they can play a beginner game and they're really excited because they understand enough to play. Another thing we notice is people who are looking to learn to play Dungeons and Dragons don't want the focus to be learning new lore, learning additional systems. A lot of them, like, I just want to learn to play D&D, and they kind of have this generic baseline fantasy idea of what that is. But some, when they were going through and reading, like, oh, this is someone's personal world, and there's like this doc I should read to help me figure out what the world's like, they are intimidated by that. That's a lot of work for a learn to play one shot. So something to keep in mind, these are a lot of fantastic tidbits. If you're looking to run learn to play games, don't rely on a lot of proper nouns. Don't use, I guess, vast homebrew, or don't make homebrew a centerpiece of the learn to play session. The idea is to make it approachable, accessible, and easy. And so sometimes with that isn't having to really rely on a lot of world building. It's more just like get the person playing as soon as possible. Another thing we learned is we interviewed some people who did learn to play games, and the ones that were the best, they were learning to play by actually playing. There were some GMs who did like a 30 to 45 minute like explanation of the rules ahead of time, and they said they hated that. They said it was very, very boring, and they felt like they were wasting time because they were just like being told what rules are, and they still didn't understand it. So if you are running learn to play games, you should be running a game where people learn to play as by playing, not by telling them what the rules are. Let's see. That's kind of the big stuff that came out of this past week of interviews. There's some other things. People are flying through the quiz. People really like the ads. People aren't dropping out at any point of the quiz. So we'll probably start building it in the next few weeks. Okay, let me get into questions here. I understand when you schedule a session, you confirm the date and time, but when you create an adventure, you select a time and date, though. Yes? No. You only if it's a one shot, Bellion. If you are doing a campaign, you select a day and time, not a date. Give you time to think of appropriate English. Ums are good, thank you. Let's see. Learn to play D&D is 17 out of our 64 allowed characters. Yeah, and I mean, I think you just use learn to play Dungeons and Dragons because it's essentially what a lot of, if you want to run a learn to play game, that's what people are looking for. Anything else outside of that might detract from it. Laser Sniper. Question, I assume L2P players tend towards one-shots? Yes. Learn to play. If the game is learn to play, it should be a one-shot. If it is beginner, it could be a campaign. How underserved is learn to play market? AvidDM, that's a great question with not a good answer. So I think it's pretty underserved because we are building tools towards it. Because in surveys, we've realized around 30% of our our users, this is the first time on Start Playing that they've ever engaged with the hobby. Now that was a while ago, but we still see a lot of new people coming to the site today that are brand new. But when I went to look for learn to play games, I found like one or two on Saturday. I found one on Friday. There could be more, but they're not very clear that they're learn to play games. So I do think they're being underserved. Now, when we roll out a starter set, we're going to need like at least 6 learn to play one shots every day, if not more, to start, because we want to get all those games filled up as soon as possible. Also, what's another good example of why it's underserved? Well, beginner is the most common experience people search for. Not a lot of people search for high level. It's not even the top 100. Let's see. But the people who do want level search are very vocal, but it's not often like typed out in search. Let's see. What else is interesting? And honestly, maybe if I have time, I'll kind of write out like the top 100 searches if I have time. If I like end up with insomnia and I want to do something, I will go ahead and write out like the top 100 searches, kind of like anonymized, take out things that like are like GM names, things like that. So you can see like what the top 100 searches are. Let's see. What are some other ways we know that learn to play players are underserved? I think because there's a lot of people searching beginner, a lot of people searching learn to play. Those are 2 big things. And the fact that there's not a lot of those games available, those are what I would say are the biggest. And the fact that we just know like we have a lot of players, this is the first time they've ever played the game. So I would say if you want to try something out, I would try running a learn to play session, and I would try making it incredibly welcoming to someone who's never played D&D. And we should also like start a thread in the Discord where everyone kind of gives advice on their learn to play game listings. Can you mentioned followers on long form and short form? Can you clarify long and short form are? Jim Chris, yeah, short form, TikTok, Instagram Reels. And if you primarily only release YouTube Shorts, you actually don't have any long form content. In long form, of course, is YouTube. Is there another long form? Twitch, yeah, Twitch wouldn't be another long form. Is Valentine's still there? Can we see Valentine again? Maybe near the end. She's asleep. Insider baseball language frightens new players universally. 100%. Let's see. Question. Is there a way to showcase more indie RPGs? Maya's Game Room. We actually... So, Maya, I'm not sure if you're kind of familiar with some of the stuff that we already do. But we have landing pages for dozens of different indie tabletop RPGs. We do events every month with a number of different indie RPG publishers. We also have a number of influencers who are focused on other things other than D&D to help with indie publishers. So we are working with Brotherwise Games, Evil Hat, Paizo, Onyx Path. We work with a lot of indie games to kind of like help that grow. Let me know if there was something else that you were thinking. Question. There should be an LTP button that make it clear when we create new games. Should there be a learn to play button to make it clear when we create new games? Copernicus. No, I think the goal is you creating a great learn to play listing is what's the takeaway here. Please give us the searches, Ross. Gregan, how much would you say the platform would discourage new players from trying a game? For example, how much would you say the platform? Oh, none. No, well, okay. For the most part, I haven't seen anything in my user interviews that dissuades people from joining a game because of a system outside of once or twice, like a handful of times, Fantasy Grounds, where people had to download something. And I think Fantasy Grounds might have fixed this by now. This is a little while ago, but you're supposed to download a demo version of Fantasy Grounds, and then with that, you can get into the lobby if the GM is running the game. I forget how it works. I've done this a few times. That is what confused the new player. They're like, oh, I have to download a demo of a game and install it to my computer. That was kind of a blocker for them. So I would say definitely like lean on web-based or lean on like Theater of the Mind for learn to play games. But the thing is, like, you know, if you can get someone loving your VTT because you can run it really, really well, they're likely going to want to stick with that VTT. So this shouldn't dissuade you from using any VTT you want. That's an anecdotal experience that I cannot say translates to any like percentage of, you know, conversions. Let's see. I love to be able to write Learn to play without taking 20% of my character limit. Joshua Bowman, you don't need the rest of that if you're doing Learn to Play Dungeons and Dragons. The whole point what we're talking about here is that added extra really is distracting or confusing players. That's all you need. Yep. Why they changed the 64 characters on game titles? So I talked about this a little bit before. But we did some research. They look less spammy to players. They also fit within the new framework of our design system. But we knew we had to keep it between 50 and 70 based on like just general UX patterns on how often someone's in search and how often they like actually scroll around. In my experience, writing Learn to Play gets you seats. Any particular day or time that'd be good requested for Learn to Play pricing? Philomania, I think you should focus on the weekends and the weeknights. Probably the most popular time we have on the site is 1400, which is 2 p.m., right? 2 p.m. Pacific. And when I say 1400 Pacific is the most popular time for games on the site. But the big thing is, when I tell you the most popular, that's just what most people have booked. That also might just drive more people to have games on that time. That doesn't mean that that's what people are looking for. And it's really hard to disambiguate the times that people select. So we have to find a different way to actually kind of get demand times rather than just like times that people have used the filters. So I would say nights and weekends would be best to do Learn to Play games. Would you say a follow DM button that alerts players? I'm not talking about following DMs. I'm not talking about faving DMs. I'll talk about that later. Any particular day or time? Oh yeah, I just answered that. Mel says, suggestion, it would be cool if there was a playtest tag for GMs who are also game writers, developers. That's not a bad idea, Mel. Maybe we'll add a playtest tag. You should put that in the feature requests because I don't have it open, but I'll look at that later. Let's see. Yeah, the blocker would be my players having to download or join a payment program that wasn't PayPal. A lot of them are leery of that kind of thing. Jinx, one big thing to let players know, Stripe, which is our payment processor, is the largest payment processor in the world, bigger than PayPal. It actually does all the payment processing for Amazon. Joshua Bowman, I hear what you're saying, but being a vendor means it's my business. Yeah, I get it, but it's also kind of like if you only have a 10 by 10, what do you call it? Up and easy up. This is kind of like your 10 by 10 easy up. Have to work within those bounds. Laser Sniper, yeah, one of the reasons why we don't use PayPal is because PayPal is like riddled with fraud, and so because of like PayPal's like kind of loose policies, we don't use them. Philomania, you should reach out Machine Age Publishing. Hey, if you have a contact with them, please introduce me. Any advice for new GM on your system? I want to do some one-shots to try it out. Cyborg Prime, sign up for the onboarding, read the advice post on our blog, and get your listing and join a game with a pro GM and see how they onboard and treat their players, or take one of the many webinars coming out next month. Top secret. You can't hint at this like that, Seven. I made posting for the New Year's Zero Engine game at the beginning of July. The game is super new, and it's also from an indie publisher, and the game is on Monday, so it's been slow going. So are you talking about following, or I'm not VJ, I'm not talking about anything. I'm not talking about anything. Yeah, Cyborg Prime. Yeah, I would say if you did the onboarding, awesome. Make sure that your listing's amazing. Get some listing feedback. But another thing, like, I talk about this when I do the onboarding, and a lot of like gyms who've been here a long time know I say the same thing. Anytime you're a player in another Dungeon Master or Game Master's game, you see things that they do that you're like, oh my gosh, I love how that GM did that. I want to put that in my game. You also see them do stuff that you do that maybe you're like, you know what? I don't really like that as a player. I'm going to take that out of my game. We end up running better games because we play with other Dungeon Masters and other Game Masters. But when you play with other professional Dungeon Masters and professional Game Masters, you also learn how they welcome their players, how they onboard people, how they use icebreakers, how they bring a group together. That kind of stuff is also insurmountable, that you are incredibly valuable to new GMs to learn that stuff. So I always say, play with as many GMs as you can. be a seat filler, booking games with the credit you have, it is really, really helpful to see how other GMs essentially run their business after you book. Let's see. Are players interested in 1 session or 2 session games? Do they want campaigns? So most bookings are for campaigns, but I do think that learn to play one shots are underserved. And because more people are looking for campaigns, I think a lot of people have pushed for campaigns, but I do think leaning on one shots is definitely something you could benefit from. Leaning into learn to play one shots. Not quite a question, but I think you might have skipped Thunky's question, identity-based advertising. Tell me more. I definitely missed that. Thunky. Oh, there we go. Question. When are tags coming in character limits means I lose the ability to advertise LGBT and neurodivergent. What alternatives would you suggest for identity-based GM's advertising? So I would say think about what you can do in your title. And the big thing is make your title punchier, right? It's the same thing when we had more than 3,000 character limit for game descriptions. We are seeing people go 10,000 characters in those. We really should even make the character limit for descriptions shorter because we know that shorter works. So looking at your title, and figure out how can I actually make everything work. The idea is, limitation is the mother of invention. So try to figure out how you can make your title work with those callouts that you want, whether it be neurodivergent, LGBTQ, and along with what your game's about. But another thing is people are going to see your details as a GM when they click into your game. The big thing is people are looking at time first, they're looking at day first, and then they're looking at games that sound interesting to them. If they see things more about the GM, when they see your identity tags there, when they see what you're highly rated for, those are things that are going to actually push people over the edge. But there's some other stuff with identity tags that I'm hoping to do in the future. And that would be allowed to search by GM identity tags. Let's see. Is there... if they are looking into learn to play, they'd probably be trying 1 or 2 sessions and experience. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Most people who want to learn to play aren't looking for anything more than 1. They're like, I don't want to commit to anything. A lot of people that are looking for learn to play, they're intimidated by the idea of joining a campaign because they don't know if they love it yet. But after they first play, that's when they fall in love and they want to join a campaign. Let's see. 2 paragraphs is ideal for description. Yeah, Faux Phoenix. The thing is, people don't want to read a lot. They want to skim, understand. We've seen that there's a higher exit rate and bounce rate when a game description has more than 3 paragraphs of text. Let's see. Do we need to make game name same as book name to come up in search? No. Katie them, I would love search by GM identity. Yeah, we want to do that, but we also want to roll out some more of these safety tools before we fully do that. Charlie was talking about that, but we have blocking now. Once we probably roll out with some of this identity matching stuff, we'll feel a little bit more confident about it, but we just don't want to make it really easy for bad actors, terrible people to target marginalized identities on our platform. So we have to kind of balance those things. Scary thought, with all these proposed changes, people could easily exclude LGBTQ. I don't think we'll have an exclude filter. But I mean, if someone saw that in a game and they didn't want to book it, they wouldn't book it. But I don't think we'd have a tool that explicitly excludes identity tags. I think those kind of tools would be to just include or exclude anything that doesn't have X tag. So it's all or statements, not or and. Okay, let me try another angle of this. If a GM wants to write novel for their title, if they want to write a novel for their description, why does that bother SPG? That's the GM business. It's kind of like the idea of we don't want to be like a MySpace where every GM profile is HTML editable. There's this idea of consistency that leads to a higher trust factor when it comes to new players. So the consistency is a huge aspect of that. Let's see. It's an SPG interest to help you get players into your games. Absolutely. We've tied our success implicitly to your success. Let's see. Do we have anything else here to talk about? Gosh, that's really about it, team. Starter set. We're just doing a lot of user interviews on Starter set to make sure that happens. But I think we'll start building it soon. We have a landing page that we built for Starter set. But what's really cool is seeing these users go through Starter set and they are just clicking through so fast. I'm like, slow down. I need to ask you questions about this page. So it seems very, very natural to them. Let's see. Jinx Rogue question. Not everyone gets along with all types of GMs. Would there be a way that the GM could send them to a different GM, more their style? I've seen this happen a little bit in the GM Discord where people are trying to find that. But I think that's not kind of a product focus yet. I think maybe when we get a little bit bigger, that might be like a cool, introduced to this player. But right now, I think GMs are doing it really well in a sense where they already play with each other. They kind of know each other. They're saying like, you know what? This GM is really good with tactics and crunchy. I think you'd have a blast playing with them. And they kind of send their profile or they ask the GM, can I introduce you to this player? So I think that's kind of how we're seeing things now. Tizzy, suggestion, let us put music in our GM Pro pages, Devin. You want to. Listen, I hate autoplay music. I hate autoplay video. They infuriate me so much. But I do like the idea of like a GM like video on profile where you can have music and have a video intro that people click to play. I almost threw my laptop out the window when I was talking to Nate because we were talking about the idea of adding videos to profiles. And he's like, oh, just autoplay. Oh, no, it was the landing page that would have a video autoplay. I was like, never. We'll never have an autoplay video. I hate them. Mech Aganar, do you plan to let GMs know why they aren't approved for events, etc., that you do sign up for? That way they can improve on things on their end? Yeah, so Mech Agnar, usually one of the reasons why we don't allow someone to participate in an event is either they're brand new, so we don't have any proof that they're a good representative of Start Playing for this event and for this publisher, for this partner. So a big thing is if the person, say it's Onyx Path, or let's say it's Brotherwise Games. They say, hey, you can have 100 GMs get to participate in this event. And we have 200 GMs that sign up. We're probably going to choose first the GMs that have the most experience because we know that they're going to represent Start Playing in a really good light. People who haven't run games on the site before, we probably won't pick them. Now, let's say only 50 people apply. We have 100 spots. We'll probably take some risks because they're hoping to get 100 GMs. And people that might not have experience are going to get an opportunity to participate there in those events. Now, what happens when we have an event where there's 300 available slots and we get 400 people applying, and all 400 have run games on the site and they're incredible GMs? Then we kind of randomize it because there's no fair way to do it other than okay, well then let's do most reviews or most games run. There's essentially kind of like a threshold of we know this person's going to run great games. Then we just have to randomize it and select people at random to be able to participate. So I hope that answers your question. Ross Fulton wants top 8 friends, GM friends on their profile. Shitness. Oh my gosh, shitness. I went to go buy something and the website hit me with a pop-up and then a spin the wheel and then another pop-up and then a text to get this code. And I was like, I'm just not going to buy from you. I just bounced. It was just too many things. What is the opposition against Markdown and game postings? Again, it's kind of consistency. Maya. The idea is it will look very inconsistent when we have a bunch of different GM profiles. The idea of where they're all being the same is so people can browse them and consume the information they're looking for quickly and easily. But we do want to improve the GM profile and we will be making changes to it soon. Question, not a question, but I definitely don't want profile videos. I worry this will create a perceived standard. Standard to have one. Pro gamer, I think the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to test out what videos are like for players. And I think we'd probably have to create a really good like resource guide so GMs can make them or get help with making them. This is actually kind of one of the hesitations that Nate has about profile videos, is that some videos are going to be terrible, and that GM might be a great GM, but the video now doesn't sell them well. And some people are going to have a great video, and they're going to be great, but they might not also be the best GM because they had a really good video edited. So this is kind of like one of the problems we are looking at. Ajax, do we have a date? I can't tell it. I'm under an NDA. Ajax, I can't say anything like that on a live stream. That's for sure. But once I can tell you, I'll tell you. But I can't say anything yet. What about us 40 years of DMing but only just started an SPG? I don't know. What about you? I don't know what the question is, Jinxed, but I will answer it if you could add some more details. Faux Phoenix, is there something in the works that will allow GMs to organize their games listing? Yes, Faux Phoenix, there is. I talked about it last week. It's the GM listing filters. There's a toggle and a filter coming. They're very, very cool. That's about it. You'll be able to filter and you'll be able to toggle. So you'll be able to toggle just on games with adventures. It'll be dope. Jim Chris, any word on the vampire event with Alchemy? You don't know, but I should follow up with them again after last week. Bear in mind, every single video needs to be a parsed for appropriate content as well. Greeting question. It may not be something others are interested in, but similar to how you have D&D 1E and 2nd all the way to 5E. Is there going to be an update? We're not updating the drop-down list to show 5E and 2024 5E. We talked to D&D about this. It's just messy. It's not going to be helpful trying to break things up. Someone even was like, oh, I'm not running 1E, I'm running BX, and they're kind of the same, but they have the more you fracture out a system, the less eyes will get on that system. So we're keeping 5E as is. Being chosen for one special events. Jinx Rogue, it really is experience on site. It's one of those things where like someone could have, years of experience, but we don't have that verified on our side, and we don't have a really scalable way to import that from other people's experience into how people operate on the site. So we have to go just off of site info. Okay. Oh my gosh, team, we're almost done. It's already 1:51. I'm an old school GM. How do you handle games not on the list like Champions or Gamma World? Gamma World is on it. One thing to remember, the drop-down list on search isn't all games. If you want to see all games that are available, it's in the game templates, but I'm pretty sure Gamma World is there. But also, if you look at a game template and you look where it says add game system, there's instructions on what to do if the game system you want to add is not there. Thank you so much, Jinxed. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see what happens if I sit down. I look really short, huh? Okay, I'll stand up. Bob, yeah, I know. Listen, I love chatting with you guys. Here's the thing: is like, we try as a company to be as kind of open as possible. We're not an open source software company, so it can't be that open. It's actually funny. Stripe used to publish all of their internal emails, so anyone could read any of their emails, which was like their idea of radical transparency. I used to work for another company. It was a clothing company called Everlane, and they were all about radical transparency in the sense they told you how much it actually cost to make their shirts and their garments and their like jeans. But I see it in a way as like I'm building this community alongside with all of you. And so like I want to be here to answer these questions because I cannot be in Discord all the time answering every question. But I try to make these as possible every week or every other week. So I can answer questions. I can tell you what we've learned from researches. I can tell you what we're building. It means a lot to me to be here with you. It does not escape my mind the kind of burden that we have at Start Playing, that so many people have found success and that they make, some people make a living off of this. And that excites me. And I want more people to be able to do that. But I also know that like there's this responsibility to continue to make sure that happens for people. And so, being able to like talk with you and walk through stuff and kind of explain our thinking, our research, and all that on these office hours, I think is invaluable to like, continuing to build our community together. And then all the work that all the game masters in this community do to help other game masters. I love seeing in the Discord so often people have questions, people are there to help them. There's all this, there's a lot of camaraderie. I don't know. It's really beautiful, y'all. Okay. We love a short king. Palladium Fantasy for the win as far as RPGs. You succeeded 3.5 years and I have yet to have a bad experience with the team. Thank you, Bob. Undead Bear, Start Playing has not only given us DMs a community, but a kind of community where GMs can help each other out. I love this community. You know what's so cool? We're building a marketplace where there's no such thing as a whale, which is so cool. And that's like, in Twitch, 0.2% of Twitch streamers make up 97% of views gained, right? So a very small percentage of the actual people who create content on Twitch get more than just the bulk. They get the almost all the views. And that's just not possible to Start Playing. No one can take every customer. And so that is one of the reasons why I think we'll continue to thrive. And because I do know that like we can scale on like the paid performance side. It's just not right now. It's not efficient, or we spend more than we make. But we know that is scalable, which is cool. Which is like knowing that you do have scalable options. But we are exploring the other stuff. Right now, we're doing the YouTube campaign. So if you see anything mentioning Start Playing on YouTube this week, comment, like, share, etc. Help out those creators that we've hired this week to get in front of a ton of people. I need to beat some of my players over the head and get a few more reviews to be searchable. Jinx Rogue, actually right now, if you are a GM, your games are searchable even if you don't have 5 reviews. You just do not show up in the GM exclusive search. So if you actually go to like find GM, you won't show up there unless you have 5 reviews. I have a couple whales, that kind of whale. Does that make us whalers? I'll get my harpoons. Can't find the Discord link on your homepage. Cyborg Prime Games, you can only get access to the Discord with your GM account after you finish all the onboarding steps. If you maybe missed it, it should show up on your GM dashboard. There's a little call out. If you don't have it on your GM dashboard, you can go ahead and message support and they'll confirm you have a GM account and send you an invite. That's what I'm saying yesterday on Discord. We're not competing with each other. We're all looking at a piece of a very large pie. I keep popping up on the front page. It's wild. Okay, I'll check there. Question, is beginner or beginner a better term to use? I know it's pedantic. Sorry. Beginner. Actually, Jim Chris? Neither. I mean, not neither. Both. They are like identical. Because beginner and beginners, if you write beginners, actually no. Okay, GM Chris, this isn't a silver bullet answer, but beginner is technically better if someone is going to search beginner or beginners, because it'll show up for beginners and it'll show up for beginner. But if it's just beginners and someone searches beginner, it might not show up because I think it's exact word search and not dynamic where it looks for contains word. News today is that humpback whales are attacking yachts. Humpback, I thought it was orcas that are attacking yachts. Oh, in addition, so orcas and the humpbacks teamed up. I love this energy. What about Learn to Play? Buildo, Learn to Play is fantastic to put in your one-shot titles. If you are not looking for beginners, you're looking for never players. You know what I mean. Okay. Team, that's it. We got 2 minutes left. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much. Valentine, say goodbye to everyone. Oh, yes, I know. This is Valentine, everyone. She says goodbye. I hope you have a fantastic day. And I'll see you guys in the next office hours. I'll see you in the Discord. Bye-bye.
We'll do our dance at the